Now, in the middle of restoring 3 motorcycles for Vlad, this belly pan to the MV Augusta F4 appeared, and we have spent countless amount of time, energy, and money trying to get matching paint. It looks like today we finally found the matching paint. At least we hope it is. But another gremlin has popped up, and I wanted to share some of the adventure it is on this video. It would be unfair to leave out steps or things that happened along the way. I've been painting for 60 years, and this is one of the most difficult parts I've ever painted. Now, I always say, every restoration I've ever worked on has been a different adventure than the one I did before it, and it's different than the next one. We started this winter off on his V series of videos doing 3 restorations. We wound up having crazy things hold us up along the way, but the biggest thing holding up this whole production on the MV Augusta is getting the silver matching paint. Now, Vlad has gotten paint from several sources, including Europe, and they all guaranteed that this paint is going to be exact match, and so far, close but no cigar. The last nuclear option is, and it's the option I used on the Yamaha, the yellow, we're going to go to Gavin's today. We're going to ask him to try to match this silver, and if he does, boy, will he be off the hook. Matching this silver, it's an extremely difficult job for a lot of reasons, but without the right color paint, and if you paint this with the wrong, a non-matching silver, it's really going to be a problem, because we don't want to build up paint thickness around the tape where the letters are, and the letters have to be an exact match, so we don't want to have to get new letters. So if you're doing a restoration and you have this kind of an issue, it's a good idea to, before you start the restoration, figure out where you're going to get the matching paint from. Do a little test on a light bulb. This has really set us back a long time and a lot of hours testing paint. We hope we're going to make progress today and maybe even solve the problem. But hopefully there'll be some good information somewhere on this video if you're doing a restoration and need to match paint. The real issue is whenever you paint anything silver, silver looks pretty generic until you go to match it, and you find out the flakes in it can be bigger or smaller. The color can be a little bit different, and a lot of times they'll put a few little percentage of pearl, and if they put pearl white, it makes the silver whiter, which is I think what happened with the MV Augusta. But we're going to talk to them at Gavin's today and hopefully come up with an answer. But so what happened with me is when I did these original wheels, I wanted silver, 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 and that worked out fine. Then when I did the MT-09, I wanted to mix my own paint. So I had bought the pigment separate, and the way it worked out, both of them, the MT-09 and the silver wheels, really looked what I wanted them to look like. But a lot of time, if the flakes get too big, it kind of looks something I don't want it to look like. And the silver can be a darker silver, a lighter silver, and gold is even worse. And this color gold I mixed from pigment that I got from Amazon, and I have plenty extra. Anytime you buy pigment, don't buy the amount you need, buy twice the amount. It's relatively inexpensive, because when you mix a custom color, there's no way Gavin's is going to match this. I have the pigment to make more paint. But again, gold and silver are unique in the fact that the flakes can be bigger and smaller, actually any metallic color. And if you spray these colors with more pressure or less pressure, the color changes because the flakes tend to stand up instead of laying down. It's very, very involved, to say the least. But I have done this a lot of times, and I thought it was going to be a lot less work getting this MV Augusta matching paint so I could touch up this belly pan without taking the decals off. But the problem is the person that worked on this before me taped off the decals, and there's already 2 or 3 layers of paint. So if we put too much paint around those stickers, when you pull the tape up, there's going to be a giant edge, and then I'm going to have to bury that and clear. It just never ends. This is an extremely difficult thing, getting this MV Augusta belly pan painted. And Vlad has been pretty patient about it, but I know his patience is running thin. My patience is running thin. Now, luckily we're in a part of the year where Karen's already got her seedlings in and her plants in and her flowers in, and we're cooking out at the grill and everything, but usually by now I'm done and it's ready to go riding every day. Well, it just didn't work out that way this year, but we're going to see what we can get done today. This is so nice. We feed the birds, of course. We have a mother bird feeding the baby here. Look at this, feeding the baby from our feeder. How cool is that? Now, Karen, you should start feeding me like that. That's a baby fledgie and a mama bird feeding a baby. How cute. Now, just waiting for Vlad to get here. I'm going to plant some of our baby plants while we're waiting for him to get here. And anyway, it's the big day to go to Gavin's, the nuclear option. This is our favorite place in all the world. Vlad loves coming to Gavin's.
Oh,
it's like going to Las Vegas. Watch out in this parking lot too. Don't run this guy over.
Why?
World famous Gavin's. Guaranteed their paint doesn't match. Oh my
middle.
God, don't hit the other car. Ah! Show them the part.
Alright, I'm going to put
An exact match.
I'm going to put a machine on there and read it, and that's what I'm going to do.
Spray cans are not always a perfect match. 53?
63.
63, okay, you should be retired. You should be like me, living on Easy Street.
I asked for a raise 20 years ago and they put me on the
You're still waiting. Hey, if anybody could match this paint, you guys are the world. That yellow that Dennis made that time, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh, that bike's won every show it's entered.
Your bike?
Well, this in sunlight looks very different than, you got all fluorescent here, right?
Yeah.
If I take this out in the sun, it looks very different.
Yeah.
The Magic Gavin's. This is a great place. It's on Route 21 in Patterson. So there it is. After all this testing and all this fooling around, and we still don't know if it's going to match until I get time to paint it. Ah. So we finally have the paint. Of course, we ran out of time today, so putting this out in the sun. I didn't do a test yet, but this is the old test. We did several tests just for people that haven't followed the channel on every episode, but I'm pretty convinced we're going to have good luck with this. The next couple of days I'm going to try to get that part painted, and we'll see what we got. So we finished this day up, hopefully have the right paint after all this time spent. But this is the next issue we got to work on, is getting this masking tape, that edge. I'd like to be able to get that off real clear. And what I have to do is very lightly sand this down. And then what the super hard thing to do is get on a coat of silver and also a coat of clear. Because if I put the silver and no clear, you're going to see the fingerprints as we work on this. So I'll get a thin coat, and that's going to have to dry a few days. But anyway, this was a major thing to get this done today. I'm really happy, and I can't wait to see what that's going to look like once I get a chance to paint it. So the first thing today, and keep in mind, this is exactly what it would be. A good analogy would be if somebody else started building a house, and halfway through they went out of business or died or whatever, and then they gave you the house and said, finish it. Well, that's the problem here, is I don't know what's underneath here. Now, the gentleman used primer, but I don't know. He didn't sand in certain spots here. I'm going to have to detail sand this out to satisfy myself. I'm taking some M600 because this part has been in the back of Vlad's truck and in various body shops and who knows where. And the real issue that we're going to have is when it comes time to pull this, oh, the big chunk there, and it's going to come time to pull this tape off. If I were to take that tape off now, there's already a paint line there, so I can't do that. I can't remask it. But I do have a product that John Pothia sent years ago that we would put it's a clear, and I'm going to show this on a future video, how to do a better job than the tape. You can see how rough that tape is, just not a real good choice. But anyway, this is just, it's too late to do anything about it now, so we got to go to war with the army we have. So a good tip, when you have tape on and it's been on for a long time, it's going to really be a problem pulling this up. It's not going to want to come up nice and neat and clean with razor edges, and that's what I'm afraid is going to happen. So when we actually get to do that, I want Vlad to actually make sure he's happy with it, because once you pull that tape up, you're married. And if that doesn't work and you're not happy with the edge, you got to take this right down and get these stickers. And the big thing is then you got to line them up, because these line up on an MV Augusta. These, if they're out by a 1/16 of an inch, you'll notice it. So this piece has several little problems with it, and here's one right here. I want to get that cleaned up. And in fact, I'm going to try to just carefully go right up to the tape. I'm going to detail sand this out. This is going to be pretty time consuming once I get it done, but I want to get a scuff mark on everything. And then I want to wipe it down with M600 again. Now the other problem with this is, if I were doing this, I would have used primer sealer. This does not have the look of primer sealer. I think there's regular primer on here, like you would use in a body shop to paint a car. So I don't know, but yeah, that's a lot smoother than that. So I'm just going to have to, and I'll do it off camera, get the whole part sanded down with 600, especially around the lettering. And that is going to be a time-consuming thing. Now, when I did some consulting for Randolph Products when they were located in Teterboro, or Karlstad, I should say, the chemist there, one of the chemists, told me over and over and over again just how important it was not to mix and match paint products. And I remember over the years I've had some problems, and in the world of modeling, mixing dope brands, you'd have all kind of alligators and fish eyes and all kind of problems. But the problem is, again, that I don't know what's under this. And the problem is with an MV Augusta, they use two different types of paint. Vlad found this out. They use one brand, the silver, and another brand, the red. And so when we got this Chromax paint, I wanted to make sure we use Chromax thinner. I didn't want to take any chances that we were going to have, that we would contribute to the problem that of mixing brands. Now, once Karen plants the garden, I'm usually done painting for the year. In fact, I was done until this MV Augusta part appeared. And, well, you can see I spent a lot of time getting the mixture of the gun just where it was perfect, because the idea is to put the minimum amount of silver on to cover, so we don't build those paint edges up. And the other problem is, so it doesn't, the thinner doesn't go down and loosen up the paint underneath it, the unknown paint. Now this is very tricky. You think it wouldn't be this tricky. I tried to go around the lettering so I get the minimum paint buildup around that awful masking tape. The rest of it I wanted to get on just like I was painting with a big airbrush, so there'd be the minimum amount of thinner going down into the unknown paint. And I don't know what's underneath the unknown paint. That's part two. So again, I was really careful. This consumed more than half of a day, waiting for the dry times in between. But I wanted to try to get this part finished so Vlad could assemble a bike. This is the last piece of one of the restorations he's working on, and I really put out an effort on this. And this is the kind of thing that once you look at it, everything's drying, but you really have to wait until the clear is on before you see the real color, and you got to wait till everything dries out. Now, we caught a nice break on this in the fact that the day warmed up. It started off chilly. It got warmer. That'll let the paint cure up a little faster. I'm putting on the paint trying to avoid zebra stripes. And the second coat of silver really laid down beautifully. I thought we had a pretty good match right here. I flipped the part over. Thought I really was on the road to success here. And I wanted to let this dry roughly 45 minutes, an hour. And with the day warm, that'd speed that up a little bit. Right at this point, everything looked like we're right on track for having this part finished in the next couple days. And I thought, well, it's time to go mix up the clear and let that part dry up, and we'll see how the clear lays down today with the fast hardener. But as I was putting the clear on, I could see, now without the clear, the problem is when you go to pull that tape up, you're going to get fingerprints all over it, even if you wear surgical gloves. And silver tends to smudge. That's another problem. So it was really important to get on a thin coat of clear. And I got that on as thin as I possibly could. I let it dry. I got the other side. And right up to the very end of this job, I was thinking, wow, We are really having a good day. It got really nice and warm in the afternoon. The clear started drying up just the way you expect it to. I went and had another cup of coffee. I was really happy. But in the world of paint, anybody that's ever painted knows, there are gremlins everywhere. So today ends, and it's not really good news. Oh, I feel the ambulance coming. Maybe they're coming for this part. There are some spots on here where the paint is not happy with what's underneath. In other words, it's the paint that we put on that's not happy with whatever that conglomeration of stuff that got put on by the previous guy. So I don't think Vlad's going to be happy with that. And I'm not happy with it, that's for sure. And there's some spots here where the paint is not happy. It's just right along the edge here. You can see what's happening. And up by the stencils here. So I'm ready to throw the towel in and say that we're not going to be able to do it the way they want, and I've got to find out what Vlad wants to do. But this is really putting a kink into our restoration program. But the next step will be up to Vlad. And when you mix, see, here's what's happening. This part originally, he brought it to a guy in Brooklyn. It was just supposed to paint the bottom, but the guy decided to strip the whole part. Now, I don't know what paint he used. That's number one. I don't know what primer he used. See, this is the problem when you're rebuilding a house that somebody else started. Now, from me looking at this, and the way I would guess is the only substitute is to strip this part down to bare paint. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do. I really hate to admit it, but we're at the end of the line here with this, and there's nothing else I know of that you can do to salvage this. So sometimes you just lose, and I think today we have to throw the towel in and see what Vlad wants to do. Now, on this video, there is some really good, useful information. Even though we did not have a good day with success with the paintwork, we still have one last thing, and it is the nuclear option. I'm going to let that dry for a couple days, let Vlad look at it. He may or may not be happy with it. It's the bottom of the motorcycle, which you almost don't see. But the recovery would be without taking that tape off. Once you take the tape off, believe me, you're looking at a lot of hours. The only thing I can think of left, and I was stretching my brain on this all day, would be to put some self-sealing primer sealer in between. The reason I don't like that option, the problem is it's going to build up paint around the letters. It's going to be really hard to get a nice edge, and I don't even know if that edge is any good to begin with. But we're married to it now. Once that gentleman put his primer, paint, silver, whatever he put on there, I don't know. Whatever he did, the paint that we put on does not like the paint underneath. The Chromax does not like that. That's a real problem, believe me. That is not a very, like it never happens. This has happened to me in the past with model airplanes when you use Brodak dope and nitrate dope and Randolph dope, and you start mixing thinners, and all of a sudden you got alligators. Yeah. So the lesson to learn from the whole video is, number one, if you're doing any kind of work where you're doing somebody else, you're recovering from somebody else's project, I would highly recommend, and I would have recommended to Vlad right in the beginning, take this part down to plastic and self-seal it and get the decals. If we had done that, maybe we'd be ahead. I don't even know if these decals are available. This is when you deal with these type of bikes, these collector bikes, the parts are not available. But I don't know how to recreate those decals. Boy, we got painted into a corner here, just absolutely almost like you planned it that way. But I thought I'd share this because the reason for our videos is to not only share good information where the bike looks beautiful and everything. Yeah, everybody wants that video, but share these things that go wrong. And if at some point in the future we totally recover this, I'll be really impressed. I'll be impressed. Anyway, so there is good information on the video, and I hope you did enjoy watching it. So, if this is the first video you've ever seen, we have about 3,000 videos out on YouTube now. Most of them cover restoration of motorcycles, paint work, some rides that we go on, group activities, riding all of our bikes in upper New Jersey, lower New York area. But the biggest thing I like to share on the video, it's made to share painting information. And painting is not not just jumps out of the can and it's on the motorcycle thing. And when you run into a problem like this, and we haven't solved it yet, but believe me, we're going to, once Vlad stops by the shop, we're going to go to the next step. And thanks guys so much for watching.